Shalom, family. I don't even know if y'all can hear me out there right now, but had a moment technical difficulties for a moment, and if y'all can just hold on for a moment. But today we're gonna be talking about the Haplogroup E being outside of Africa. You know, this is one of big topics for me and Yeshua because we building these models so we can show people where our ancestors were, where we come from, because these other nations, they not worried about telling us these things. Um, so it's gonna be real interesting because we find the haplogroup E outside of Africa in many places before we find it within Africa. A lot of the new theories about where it originates at is not within the continent of Africa. So I think this is going to be real enlightening, and you know, it's another step in progress towards us building these models. Like I said, and I really looking forward to it.
Technical issues that I just had, man. My internet's been acting up, man, all week, man. So if there's pauses in this broadcast, my internet provider is being very difficult at the moment. So I, you know what I'm saying? Shalom to everybody.
Hey, could you hear me all that?
Shalom Amari. Bro Lavelle, you're welcome to come on the show and tell us why we're pseudos. So at the end of the broadcast, I will place the link in the chat, and you can come on here and explain to us and demonstrate to the audience why you're calling us pseudos. Okay? You said my mic's going in and out. Can anybody hear me? Can you guys hear me? You talking to James? Can y'all hear me? I can barely hear James. Who are you talking to? Whose mic is going in and out? Whose mic? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Shalom, Orthodox more. All right, man. But, you know, Bro Lavelle, the end of this presentation that I will be providing today, you are welcome. I'm going to put the link in the chat to come on here and explain to the audience, are we pseudos and how are we pseudos? Explain it. You understand? You made a claim. Now it's time for you to shine. It's time for you to shine, boy. Let your soul glow. We're going to give you your opportunity. Your 15 seconds of fame will come. You understand? Just know, man, we don't play on here. We really citation-orientated, source-orientated. Understand? And you know, my message to the black community abroad is this.
Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a...
Read a damn book. Read a book. If you don't take anything from this lecture, at least take that from here. All right, so check this out, y'all. We're gonna get right into it, right into the lesson, man. You can see haplogroup E outside of Africa. Yeah, Orthodox more. You know what I'm gonna hit them. You know what I'm gonna hit them with, man. You know, message. I'm trying to increase the literacy rates in the black community. Damn it, one live stream at a time. Okay, that's what we're going to do here at the source. We take pride in reading here. The fundamentals count here. You understand? So with no further ado, let's get right into it. I'm not gonna hold y'all up. I know y'all waiting on the Nets and I mean not the Nets, the Hawks and the Philly Chokers. and what's the other game going on tonight? You got another game after they got the Clippers and the Jazz. I know y'all want to get to that, so I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. You know what I'm saying? But what we are gonna do, we're gonna get into this, man. We're gonna get into Haplogroup E outside of Africa, because for years and years, we have had people try to lock our people into Africa. The funny thing about it is the evidence is showing the opposite. The evidence is showing that we were outside of Africa and the gene flow actually comes from outside of Africa and then travels and migrates into Africa. That's the history that has not been taught abroad. And that's what we're going to bring out today here on The Source. Haplogroup E arose outside of the continent of Africa. Then later, we all know, if you've been watching and following the videos, the Bantu expansion is pretty much the domination of Africa by our ancestors coming in and sweeping through Africa and displacing the autochthonous indigenous Africans, the Khoi, the forest, the bush people, the early Nilotic people. We pushed them out and replaced a lot of them. Okay. All right. So let's get into it, man. Like my beloved Luck says, we're getting ready to chop up this fable. All right. You guys should be able to see the beautiful PowerPoint presentation on the screen. You know how we rock it, man. 7 gang, Source gang over everything. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You understand? You know what I'm saying? Let's get it. Let's get right into it. You understand? So, internet is a little choppy, so I'm going to try to keep my eye on it and make sure that I'm not going in and out. All right? So, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to view, and then we're going to go to reading view. Let's get started, man. Haplogroup E outside of Africa. The evidence against the scientific racist model. Yes, it's a racist model to try to shoehorn or stick or limit, rather, Haplogroup E, our ancestors, majority African Americans ancestors, to Africa. It's based on modern population density. A lot of it's based on slavery. Oh, where the last place you guys came from? You guys came from the west coast of Africa, so therefore you always have to be there. They don't do that to any other group but us. As if migrations don't happen, as if famines don't happen, as if war doesn't happen. People travel. And you're going to see our people have been migrant people for some time. All right, so we're going against that, man. We're going against the grain. The crux of today's presentation, studying haplogroups should put more emphasis on the people and not old antiquated continental race ideas from the past. Many of these racial ideas are built on continental race theory. You understand? Where Africa is black, Europe's white, America's red, Malaysia's brown. Okay. This comes from this 5-race theory that was brewed up by Karl Linnaeus and Blumenbach. You understand? This is 18th, 19th century stuff. It's antiquated. It's old. It doesn't fit biology. It doesn't fit genetics. It doesn't fit genomics. None of it. This black identity stuff that y'all run with does not conform with what we see in genetics. It does not. For example, Haplogroup E has black and white people, what you would classify as white. European male, stringy hair, narrow nose, blue eyes. Haplogroup E contains that, meaning we share the same paternal ancestors as some of these white people. Okay.
Hey, Jashub, that go to when they be talking about, you saying we more related to the white man than we are to them Africans? Yes, haplogroup E1B1B is closer related to E1B1A than it is to A and B. That is correct.
That's a fact. That's a fact, because we don't have no connection to the Khoisan people. We don't. We're not those people. The original Khoi. You understand? The Bushmen, the Pygmies. You understand? Chris Rock does. He's haplogroup B. So he relates to the Bushmen, you understand, and the pygmies and the forest people. We don't. So excellent point, man. So these old ideas based on skin color are things of the past. And it's 2021, and it's time that we leave those things in the past and progress. Okay? Many people associate black people with only Africa. This is false as well. We're going to touch on this. We have black people in the BMAC culture, which is in Iran and Iraq. We understand that because of Syria, Sumer. We understand that the black-headed people were there. Okay, that's historically sound. That's been concretized in history. We understand that Cheddar Man's population was all black, right? All of Western Europe looked like Cheddar Man, which was very highly pigmented, highly melanated. So how are you associating black people with only Africa? Okay, and if you go to the Bonaparte mural in Central America, you see nothing but black people being depicted there. So again, how are you only limiting a phenotype and skin tone to a continent? Same thing with Europe. You limit white to Europe. Same when we know East Asians have that same degree or lack of, rather, a melanation. Okay, so again, continental race theory fails. It does not hold up to empirical scrutiny, things that we can observe. There are black people in the Andaman Islanders. There are black people in the Pacific Islands. We see different black people like the Negritos, for example. Okay, the Australoids. Okay, these people were clearly not what you would call white, and they're clearly outside of the continent of Africa. So again, that continental race theory stuff is old, antiquated, outdated stuff. It shouldn't be coming out of your mouth and in your arguments in 2021. It says, but the evidence of haplogroup E in Africa is primarily recent, especially sub-Saharan Africa. We mentioned in episodes that we've done prior here on the source that many people didn't even go into sub-Saharan Africa prior to 4,500 years ago. That's 2,500 BCE. Why? The Green Sahara. There was no reason to. And it was very hard to, because the Green Sahara was a thick bush. A lot of vegetation. You needed to clear that out. You need to have tools and equipment to clear that stuff out. And you wouldn't leave it because most of humanity, in the history of humanity, society would live next to what? Water, pluvial deposits. Many rain pools and pluvial deposits, meaning water deposits, were replete in the Green Sahara. You wouldn't go away from that. This is why you see populations close to the Nile. It's the water source, pluvial deposits. This is where you see society reign. This is why you see it in Mesopotamia. Why? Because you have the Euphrates River. You have these great rivers there that can support a society. You need water. Okay? They would not go deep into Sahara. The Sahara was, below the Sahara was uninhabitable for thousands of years until the Green Sahara shrunk. A process of desiccation, which just means drying, and became the desert we know it today. Then you see people penetrating around 4,500 years. How do we know that? Because the pottery assemblage. The more pottery shards you see, the bigger the population is. The more human activity is going on during that time. This is how they judge these things. This is why they give a date 4,500 years ago is when we started seeing people penetrating the Sahara. Okay? So haplogroup E could not have arose in sub-Saharan Africa. It says, in today's episode, we will discuss the evidence pointing towards an external origin of haplogroup E. We're going to use scientific empirical data here. All right. The issues with continental identities, African, European, etc. There is a larger set of philosophical issues about the notion of any of the continental communal identities. When do they start? What is their best basis? What must their time depth be? That's important. How long have we been using these terms and considered? About what, 200-300 years, right? For African and in the same magnitude as it's used today, the same capacity. It says, are there notions of ancestral purity embedded in certain perspectives, and who gets to decide these questions? And that's the thing. Ancestral purity has been embedded in the term African and Black, because that has always been taught, as we covered on the channel in prior episodes. It has always been taught that all Black people come from Canaan because of the curse of Canaan. And that's how we got our black skin. Okay, and that led to our modern race theory. We covered that. Edith Bruder covered that in her book. That's what led to it. It was about ancestral purity, that we all came from Canaan, and this is what explains our black skin, our condition, slavery, etc. Right? The Hamitic hypothesis. This is what this is. This is scientific racism that's being superimposed on our people in 2021 by other people, that people that bear our genes, the people that are us. They are using these same scientific racist arguments against us. But that's the background of it. It's very racist. It proposes a static ethnic group, which we were not a static ethnic group. We moved around, as we're going to cover later on in the subsequent slides. All right. It says populations are known to have changed religion in our language. So, Raborn, if you're watching, you can't use the argument, oh, well, these people are following the Akan tradition, so how can they be Hebrews? People can adopt and change religions, create religions. Culture changes. It's very plastic. It does not remain the same through acculturation. Okay. So we understand that. Okay. Inacquired ancestry from other groups, which we can see happen with the ancient Israelite group, with other groups as well. Ancient Egypt acquired ancestry from other groups. This is why you have the Dynasty 18, Akhenaten, Ahmose the First, Amenhotep. These people were haplogroup R. They're obviously the echoes of an introgression or invasion or a migration from a foreign people from outside of those lineages. Okay. It says even with haplogroup J amongst the Limba, they acquired that ancestry from other groups. And that also showed that the Limba, which were primarily EM2, E1, B1A, come from outside of Africa. They picked up these genes, picked up these people, and brought them admixed with them and brought them with them deep into Africa. All right. So it says sometimes identities have changed in the process, and we know that's the case. We're a prime example. Majority of us are the echoes of slavery here in America, right? Our identities have changed. We're no longer whatever our native tribe would have been called in West Africa or wherever we came from, right? We're now just Black, African, African-American, Brazilian, Caribbean. Our identities have changed. This is what happens over time. You understand? There's also the issue of relationship or of more specific bioethnic ancestry to social and or cultural identity at any moment in history. That's a problem that we're discussing. Bioethnic ancestry, again, what we mentioned earlier. A lot of African Americans are related to what we will call white Europeans that have haplogroup E. Many of them are E1, B1, B1. Okay? Bioethnically, we share the same ancestry, but socially, we're not considered the same. And that's a problem. It says and/or cultural identity at any moment in history. If you look at the Jewish group is comprised of haplogroup J, R, G, K. They got E in there. Okay? But culturally, they're identified as Ashkenazi. But they're a hodgepodge of people. And it says at any moment in history. Exactly. We use the Egyptian example. The Egyptian example, it's prevalent where we see Asiatic DNA being infused. We're seeing Kushite DNA being infused and introgressed and introduced into Egypt. This is why you can't make these blanket statements. You understand? Like your boy, like your boy Shaka Amos, man. Shaka Amos is going around singing, "We were the ones." How do you prove that? When Egypt was diverse and many people went inside into Egypt, and a lot of the people that y'all give praise to, King Tut, you give a lot of praise and glory to King Tut, Akhenaten, the 18th dynasty pharaohs. They are not your ancestors. They have haplogroup R. Okay. So, you know, when Shaka Atmos is singing this,
you just don't know. Let me show you the past so your future can look bright. Help you walk into the light. Cause you see yourself. I've heard them say that we wasn't even there. Baby, let me make it clear. We were the ones.
when he says we were the ones, that he's got to clarify which dynasty he's talking about, because many times people are claiming all of Egypt throughout time since it started. Since the first dynasty onward, they say that's us. You can't prove that. All right. So that's why, again, I advise you guys to read a damn book, man. Read a book. Okay. So again, we're seeing that bioethnic ancestry, the socially. Why am I going over this? Because again, a lot of you guys will say, well, how can we be outside of Africa if we African? How can our origin go outside of Africa? What are you basing it off of? The fact that you're socially identified as African. Therefore, you cannot disconnect yourself. It has nothing to do with academia or research. It has everything to do with the social atmosphere and pressures that you witness every day in your everyday life. People call you African, consider you black, consider that you've always been in Africa. Okay? Nobody went into no research and did that. They just, okay, that's just been the ongoing trope for black people. All right? So what we're going to do today is break some axioms, okay? Another thing I want to touch on before we dive into the meat and potatoes, the main course, is uncertainty with divergence dating. Now, that just means when these haplogroups arose. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you're saying you're a Hebrew Israelite, but this says this arose 70,000 years ago. Haplogroup E arose 70, or DE arose 70,000 years ago. Do you understand those dates are punitive? Punitive just means they guess or estimate. This is not a concrete date. This is not absolute dating at all. Matter of fact, when you read statistical methods in molecular evolution, you know, we read over here, Rasmus Nelson, page number 249, it tells you, given any trajectory of rates over time, the expected number of changes can be determined, but the actual number is a random variable. This randomness increases the uncertainty of divergence dating. This is the part they don't tell you. This is the part the conscious community ain't going to tell you. Just throw them big old dates out there. Well, how can you guys be Jews when it says that this arose 20,000, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago? These people haven't opened and read a damn book, man. These dates are punitive or putative. Okay? They're hypothetical. All right? These numbers are based on their estimates and the models that they have on the trajectory of rates over time. What's the rates over time? That's dealing with mutation accumulation. They don't know. That's not observed. They don't know how fast a mutation accumulates. This is why when they study EV12, they said, wait a minute. This is spitting out different clades within a few centuries. But many people are, oh, it takes 10,000, 20, 30,000 years. No, it doesn't. Okay? All right, so don't let people try to trap you with that. Now, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this. The big migration into Africa. Almost all of us agree there was some back to Africa gene flow, and it was a pretty big migration into East Africa, says Skoglund. Now, why is this huge? They're going to date this. They're going to date this to around 3,000 years ago. Okay? That's huge because this is around the time of the Bantu expansion. A lot of people know it didn't happen 5,500 years ago. Again, these are estimates. But most people say around 3,000 to 4,000 years ago we had the Bantu expansion. It's huge. That's showing African gene back to Africa gene flow as well, because we're seeing these people carry Southwest Asian materials. Okay, Southwest Asian techniques that you don't learn overnight, like iron metallurgy. It's a very difficult thing. And the only way that you can learn iron metallurgy and iron smelting is to have a grasp on pyrotechnology. Okay? These people were carrying bananas, coconuts, humpback cattle. All of these things come from Southwest Asia. Then you get to the people and say, no, they African. They were just always in Africa. No, No. Read a damn book. All right. Sources on the left side of the screen. Haplogroup E had its genesis outside of Africa. In terms of Y chromosome-specific markers, there are a number of markers in haplogroups that had their genesis in Asia. For example, although the DEM1 suprahaplogroup, YAP insertion, has been postulated to have its origin in East Africa approximately 65,000 years ago, more recent reports indicate Asian origin and an introduction to Africa later. The same can be said about haplogroup E, a descendant of DE. So wait a minute. Why are they not telling you this part? They only tell you one side of the story. Oh, well, you know, scientists say that we came from East Africa. First of all, it's a postulation. Secondly, there is a competing model. The competing model says it came from Asia. Why are you pro-Africaners not talking about that? Huh? And it says the same can be said about haplogroup E, a descendant of DE. And that's another thing I want to touch on. Why when we get to haplogroup E, we get stuck on stupid, but when we look at D, D is in Japan. D made it all the way to Japan, Tibet, the Andaman Islanders, DM174. D traveled. Then you get the E, you get dumb, you get stupid. Oh, well, E was just, foragers in Africa. Then that never been the case. We were agriculturalists. We were agrarian. Matter of fact, haplogroup E has been said to be responsible for spreading agriculture into Africa. Okay? And you know, agrarian societies move. They migrate. Why? Whenever there's a famine or a drought, they have to move to accommodate their crops. They're not static or stationary or sedentary. They move. There was no Walmart back then for them, local market, so they can go and get the vegetables. All right? So haplogroup E has been postulated to originate in East Africa and Asia by two independent research groups. So there's competing models here. If indeed haplogroup E, the most abundant lineage in Africa, had its genesis in Asia, it represents the most successful back migration of modern humans into Africa. Why? Because it's the dominant lineage in Africa through what? Through what? The Bantu expansion. And now you got people like Kyle trying to separate himself from the Bantu. Now you got the Bantu language group and we got the Bantu demic diffusion that went through Africa that dealt with people. When we say the Bantu expansion, we're talking about the demic diffusion, the people. And the haplogroup clade I come from is EU290 was part of that. Now a lot of you guys trying to separate yourself from that. I don't know why. The Africanity insanity must stop. So when you see some evidence about some kind of Asiatic origin, now you want to disassociate yourself from these people. But they're your ancestors, man. Get over it. And the source is Genomes, Evolution, and Culture by Rain J. Herrera and others, 2016, page number 190. A Near Eastern origin being postulated again. It says the E haplogroup and its YAP parent have been a point of contention, with both being an African origin. Brother, why you calling me? You know I'm on the phone. You know I'm on the thing. With both being an African origin by some researchers, but now with some postulating an Asian Near Eastern origin. So it's two sides to the story, man. Why are we not getting any commentary, any shows like this on Sinetta, the conscious community? Why are they not bringing this out? All right, so I'm checking the StreamYard, making sure that we still live. All right, we good to go. You know what I'm saying? Remind y'all who has a good comment. He said, they swear we hate being African. They think just because you are black, you are from Africa, which definitely is racist sign. Exactly, that's racist. Got the nerve to call themselves woke, but preaching that bias nonsense. Exactly. That is racist thinking. All right. Not only that you're from Africa, that's all you ever been. Is in Africa until colonization happened and the white man saved you through slavery and brought you into the modern world. That's also the second part of that. You know what I'm saying? And this is from the genetics of African populations, basically, given the hypothesis, okay, that E haplogroup has been postulated to have an Asian Near Eastern origin. Majority of the evidence shows a migration into Africa. This is another thing about, how they use the word a backflow into Africa. I have no gripes with an origin in Africa, but here's the interesting thing. When we look at the data, we don't see, most of the data we see is people going into Africa from Southwest Asia or from a corridor. That's most of the data we see. A review of the information provided by these uniparental DNA markers, which is Y chromosome, X chromosomes, right, reveals that the majority of the migrations detected are out of Africa, but back to Africa. So we don't see, that's a typo there. They are not out of Africa, but back to Africa is what that states. So we don't see out of Africa. And majority of the migrations we see, majority of them are going into Africa, okay, which they're calling back to Africa because they believe in the out of Africa theory. It says these back to Africa dispersals are clearly observed when the distribution of Y chromosome specific in mitochondrial DNA. With the distribution of Y chromosome specific in mitochondrial DNA, haplogroups of Eurasian origin is illustrated in the regions inside Africa and Southwest Asia side of the South and the North corridor. So they know these migrations took place because you have haplogroup T, a Near Eastern clade found within Africa. You have J, that's Near Eastern as well, found within Africa. You have R. We can keep going. These Asian clades found within Africa. Okay, and European clades found within Africa. Unless people moved and migrated through the Levant corridor into Africa. There's plenty of evidence for that. It's not too much evidence the other way around, so it's very intriguing. Middle Eastern farmers' genetic imprint inside of Africa. In the science paper, research and confirmed finding the paper also suggests that populations across the continent still harbor significant ancestry for the Middle Eastern farmers who were behind the back migration. Populations in East Africa, including Ethiopian Highlanders who live near Mota Cave, carried the highest levels of Eurasian ancestry. This is important because many of these Ethiopian Highlanders are E1B1A. It says, but the team also found vestiges of backflow migration in West Africa and the Pygmy group in Central Africa, the Mabuti. Okay. Let's keep going. 3,000 years ago, limited to Eastern Africa. Limited to Eastern Africa. We just had somebody jump in the call. Oh, that's my brother James. All right, so check this out. 3,000 years ago, limited to Eastern Africa. So they're saying in this paper, they made a correction. What they actually found was mostly limited to Eastern Africa for the Eurasian admixture. Right? It says Andrea Monica, a population geneticist at the University of Cambridge, UK, who co-led the study, says the team made a mistake in its conclusion that the backflow reached Western and Central Africa. The movement 3,000 years ago or thereabouts was limited to Eastern Africa, he says. So what they can detect genetically is limited to Eastern Africa. That's the correction they made with this paper. Now, with that being stated, does that mean those other groups don't have it? No, because over time, we know what? DNA fragments over time. So those signals can get weaker and weaker and weaker through population boom, the more you reproduce, or through time in general. So that doesn't necessarily mean all of them don't have it. But what's important, these Highlanders have it. And they date the microsatellites back to 3,000 years ago. This is when the admixture took place. All right. Which coincides with what we call the Bantu expansion, by the way. Admixture reveals Eurasian gene flow. Although the first humans left some 100,000 years ago, a study published in 2013 found that some came back again around 3,000 years ago. This reverse migration has left its trace in African genomes. And the Mota man was E1B1A2, EM329. Okay. Let's keep going. Now let's deal with the ultimate Southwest ancestry. Why do we have these people with E markers having ultimately Southwestern Asian ancestry? if the continental theory was true, we should only have African. We should all be 100% African. But this is what we see in the evidence available to us. Genome-wide data also suggests that North Africa was recolonized in the Pleistocene from a Southwest Asian source. Let me read that again. Genome-wide data also suggests that North Africa was recolonized in the Pleistocene. So this is old, right? From a Southwest Asian source with a similar time frame for the indigenous North African lineages. The pattern with U6 and perhaps also M1 implies that the modern humans who made the MSA industries were not the ancestors of those who made the Ibero-Maurusians. Now that's important because the Ibero-Maurusians have been brought up. They're E1B1B. But rather that these autochthonous North African lineages spread from further east, most likely from the makers of the Dobbin industry with an ultimately Southwest Asian ancestry. This is why when you look at the Ibero-Maurusians autosomal makeup, over 2/3 is autosomally Near Eastern. This is E1B1B. And this is some of the oldest DNA for Haplogroup E, and it points back to Southwest Asia. So where are you getting this African genesis from? The data does not conform with it at all. And that's from Africa, from the MIS 62 Population Dynamics of Paleo Environments, page number 377. Very expensive book, but it's a jewel. Okay. Eurasian parallels within the Ibero-Maurusians. The overall picture suggests that people carrying U6, which is mitochondrial DNA, right? Asian mitochondrial DNA is what U6 is, were likely responsible for the production of the Dobbin industry in North Africa and the subsequent spread west of the Ibero-Maurusian industry. The links back to Near Eastern source in the Eurasian Upper Paleolithic may partly explain the suggested similarities between the robust Ibero-Maurusian burials and European Cro-Magnon remains. So they're drawing parallels. They're saying, look at these Ibero-Maurusians and how they bury their people and the European Cro-Magnons. These people are clearly Eurasian. These people are clearly Eurasian. This is why, again, autosomally, they're 2/3 Near Eastern. What does that mean? That they've been picking up genes within a certain time frame. And majority of those genes came from the Near East. Okay? This is why you can have someone autosomally E1B1A and be 70% European. That means within the last 500 years, most of his ancestors were dealing with Europeans. They were mixing and picking up genes from other Europeans. That's what that means. So where are we getting this? We were stuck in Africa for 10,000 years stuff, Garfield. Where are we getting this stuff from? More evidence of Asian gene flow into Africa. Okay, you notice I ain't opened a Bible verse yet. I didn't go to the Bible. I'm not preaching you tonight, man. I'm giving you scientific data. A back to Africa migration from Asia to sub-Saharan Africa is supported by the analysis of Y chromosome haplogroup. Let me say that again. A back to Africa migration. I'm going to do this slow for you. A back to Africa migration from Asia to where? Sub-Saharan Africa is supported by the analysis of Y chromosome haplotypes. This is what we've been teaching y'all and telling y'all this whole damn time. The analysis suggests that a significant amount of the extent of the Khoisan gene pool from Southern Africa is East African in origin, and that Asia was a source of a back migration to where? Sub-Saharan Africa. This is why I tell you guys, man. Reading is fundamental. Oh, man, you gotta read.
Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book.
Please read. Please read. Start reading, man. Because you guys just go on these tyrants on Facebook and social media, and it's a lot of baseless claims. Okay? Dasharab said the Ethiopian Highlanders are not haplogroup E, they haplogroup J. You're welcome to come on the show when I'm done with my presentation and present that information, brother. We want to see it. All right? So, with that being said, let's get back into this, man. Read a damn book. All right? And whoever this brother is, I need you to hold steadfast, brother. I will open the floor for you, and you will have your time to shine here on the source. All right, let me get back to it. All right, so this says again, the analysis suggests that a significant amount of extent of Khoisan gene pool from Southern Africa is East African in origin, and that Asia was the source of a back migration to Sub-Saharan Africa. Y chromosomes with haplogroup IX appear to have been involved in the migration, the traces of which can now be seen mostly in northern Cameroon. So we know a migration did take place from Asia into Sub-Saharan Africa. We know that. We have the genetic evidence to prove it. Why? Because you have this foreign Y chromosome that we know are outside of Africa coming in. Okay, many people say we start seeing that 3,000 years ago. When are we going to start believing the African oral stories of them coming from outside of that area and coming from the Middle East, coming from Asia? We see the DNA and the admixtures with them. We see it with the limba. They got J and T with them. When we going to start at least adhering or trying to figure out what they meant by that? The genetic expansion of E1B1B clades is another daggone this, man. These specific mutations, M34, M78, and M81, all E1B1B, right? Our brother clade, have also been found in European and Near Eastern populations, suggesting a high degree of geographical haplotype distribution. Let me say that again. Suggesting a high degree. A high degree. This was going on in a high frequency, man. Okay? This was not a small matter. Suggesting a high degree of geographical haplotype distribution within and out of Africa. That part right there stung some of you guys that's watching. Out of Africa. Say it with me. Out of Africa. A coalescence age of chromosomes carrying the M81 mutation was placed at approximately 2,000 years ago, suggesting a more recent wide genetic expansion of M81 haplotypes in northwestern Africa. So they're saying this happened much recently, and a lot of this geographic distribution we have the proof of. And again, that's Ancestral DNA, Human Origins, and Migrations by Rain J. Herrera, Ralph Garcia Bertrand, page number 140. The route into Europe and Africa was known to the ancient. Okay? In addition to the wide geographical distribution of EM81 in northwestern Africa, but absent in other parts of Africa, the RM207 and RM173 mutations, normally found in Western Eurasia, Central, Northern, and Southern Asia, were found in high frequencies in sub-Saharan African populations such as Cameroon. Based on this Y chromosome data, the presence of a predominantly Asian mutation in sub-Saharan Africa seems to suggest a male-dominated backward migration from Asia to Africa. This is how we know it happened. This migration happened. We can see the remnants of their population there. How did they get there? Migration. This is supported by the observation of KM9 haplotypes in Asia and the reported discrepancies of Africa. Haplotype OM117 is believed to be part of the chromosomes present in Europe that derived from an ancient Eurasian migration. It is speculated that a prior Asian migration into Europe and Cameroon may be responsible. Same book, pages 141 to 142. Why DNA cements the Asian migration routes? Genetic data observation of Y chromosomes and haplogroups suggests the possibility of at least 2 non-African migrations into the Horn of Africa prior to 3,000 years ago. Let me read that again. Genetic data observation of Y chromosomes and haplogroups suggests the possibility of at least 2 non-African migrations into the Horn of Africa prior to 3,000 years ago. First, the Horn of Africa populations contain characteristics of haplogroup EM78, a subgroup of haplogroup EV32, which is believed to have originated in North African populations almost 6,000 years ago. Second, the presence of haplogroup T, we mentioned that, right? TM70 is present in a moderate to high values in some Horn of Africa to have originated in the Levant around 21,000 years ago. So we're seeing this foreign DNA. Okay, we see the T amongst the limba, we see the T amongst that group. So they obtained these ancestries from the outside groups, as we read earlier from Mutasia's work, right? And they brought and migrated with them. Okay. Major discovery in Mesolithic France. Now it's gonna get ugly for the pro-Africaners out there. It's gonna get very ugly and dark for you. Okay? It's gonna get and this is why reading is fundamental. All right, this is from a paper known as Ancient Genomes from the Present-Day France Unveils 7,000 Years of Its Demographic History by Samantha Bruno. PNAS is where you can find that. June 9th, 2020 is when it was published. Using genomic data as well as paternal and maternal lineages from more than 200 individuals, including 58 low-coverage ancient genomes, we show the population structure from Mesolithic to the Iron Age in France and trace the changing frequencies of genotypes associated with phenotypic traits. Importantly, we also report the late persistence of a Magellanian-associated ancestry in hunter-gatherer populations, showing the presence of the ancestry beyond the Iberian Peninsula in the late Paleolithic. This study complements the genomic history of Western Europe for this broad period by supplying a large genetic transect of 3 regions of France. Now, let's look and see what they found in France, Mesolithic France. We're talking 5,000-6,000 years ago. Let's see what they found there. It says data from ancient Western Europe fills a geographic gap that was so far missing, allowing a more global view of a past population dynamics in Europe. Okay, that's what this paper purports to do. Watch this. When you go to the supplementary methods and materials, this is what you find listed. Y-DNA, E1B1A. Y-DNA, Y chromosomal DNA, E1B1A in France around 4,700 years ago, before present. E1B1A in France. We don't even find it in Africa that old. We don't find it. We find it in France. Come on, man. What's going on, man? You got something? You ready? You gonna say something, James? Oh, I guess the brother busy. Hold on. Let me keep going. Let's keep going. So we find E1B1A in France. Guess where else we find it? E1B1A in the Bronze Age, Iran. See that little yellow area right there? You know, I did my little pictograph with this one. I had to do get on my little pictograph game, man. Get my pictograph game up. You see that yellow, the orange area right there in the middle of the BMAC, where it says the BMAC? This is where they found E1B1A. This is around Iran, Iraq, northern Syria, around that area, right? We found E1B1A during the Bronze Age in this site right here, in the BMAC. Why are we finding E1B1A all the way up here? Why are we finding it in France? Why are we finding it in the Bronze Age Iran if we're supposed to be geographically locked into a continent known as Africa? We find it alongside E1B1B, which we're going to show you something with the correlation with that. We know E1B1B went all through Europe. We read it. We see E1B1A here as well in the BMAC culture. E1B1A found in Corsica. I brought this up on my shows before. Why do we find this here? Okay, 7,000 years ago? Come on, man. This study confirms the high-level genetic diversity in the Corsican populations and back genetic contributions from prehistoric migrations associated with Mesolithic, Neolithic, and Middle Age eras. Haplogroup E, mainly represented by E1, B1, B1A, 1B1A, V13, E1, B1B, V13, displayed intermediate frequencies in Corsica compared to Tuscany and Provence. E1, B1B, V13 was thought to have initiated a pan-Mediterranean expansion 7,000 years ago, starting from the Balkans. In its dispersal to the northern shore of the Mediterranean basin is consistent with the Greek Anatolian expansion to the western Mediterranean. Characteristics of the region surrounding Ilaria and consistent with the TMRCA, which is the most recent common ancestor, estimated in Corsica for this haplogroup. A few E1, B1A, V38 chromosomes are also observed in the same regions as V13, which is E1, B1A. And we know that did transmigration. So what does that imply about E1, B1A? They were involved with transmigrations as well. Going into Europe, going into the Near East, we were traveling. We see this in Europe. We see this in Corsica. We see this in the Near East. We see it in the BMAC culture. Where's the E1, B1A in sub-Saharan Africa, man? During this time, we don't see it there. We see it up here, outside of Africa, man. Again, that's from prehistoric migrations through the Mediterranean basin shaped Corsican Y chromosome diversity by Julie D. Cristofaro, +1, August the 1st, 2018. E1, B1A in the Levant 3,000 years ago. How do you know that? How do you know it was there 3,000 years ago? My brother James is on here. He was the first that I know of that brought this paper up. And this particular source bothered some people, man. This source right here really bothered. I'm gonna say Garfield. What was the other brother name? Asar. These brothers hate this paper, man. This really made them go out their way. You know what I'm saying? Because the implications of this paper and the magnitude of the implication of this paper is going to bother you if you've been teaching that we've been landlocked in Africa for thousands of years, especially sub-Saharan Africa, for thousands of years. This will, shake up and rock your world. So let's read it by the Sister Priya Morjani. History of the African gene flow into Southern Europeans, Levantines, and Jews. Says we also detect 3 to 5% sub-Saharan African ancestry in all 8 of the diverse Jewish population that we analyze. 3 to 5% just means it's ancient. That's very ancient. Okay. It says for the Jewish admixture, we obtain an average estimated date of about 72 generations. This may reflect the descent of these groups from a common ancestral population that already had some African ancestry prior to the Jewish diasporas. This is how we know this was 3,000 years ago. Because prior to the Jewish diasporas, that's going before the Northern Kingdom being expelled, many of the Northern Kingdom being expelled by the Assyrians. That's prior to the 8th century BCE. That population of Israelites had African ancestry, according to this paper. Whether you like sub-Saharan African ancestry, whether you like it or not. And how did they come to this conclusion? It says for most analysis, we use HapMap 3, Utah European American, to represent the Northern Europeans, and HapMap 3, Yoruba Nigerians, to represent sub-Saharan African. Let me say that again. They use Yoruba Nigerians, YRI, to represent sub-Saharan Africans. That's the damn group that was admixed, that was there, present in the Levant, in Israel, 3,000 years ago. This is science. Yo, we're not Bible versing y'all. Let's go, man. Yoruba Africans within the original Jewish cluster. A parsimonious explanation for these observations is that they reflect a history in which many of the Jewish groups descend from a common ancestral population, which was itself admixed with Africans prior to the beginning of the Jewish diaspora that occurred in the 8th to 6th century BC. This is what the paper says. Take it up with them. Take it up with them. This is when they dated it, prior to the Jewish diasporas. Japanese writer comes to the same conclusion. I brought this up before on the channel, Aramasa Kubo. It says above is what is the current Jewish DNA. Then what was the haplogroup of the ancient native Israelites? That's the question. What was the DNA of the ancient native Israelites? Let's see what this Japanese writer says. Right? Let me see who just jumped back in here. Oh, it's my brother James.
Oh man, I just wanted to say that that article there made all of them on that panel lose their mind. They couldn't even keep their composure no more after I brought that up. They wanted to kick us off, didn't want us to say nothing no more. Swore we was lying, like the article didn't say what it said. You know what I mean? I sent them the article and everything. Ain't heard them say nothing else about it.
Yeah.
Because how you gonna argue that? You take all of the diverse Jewish populations and the only thing you find in common is this Yoruba ancestry in them? Come on, that means the least common denominator that connects them all is that ancestry, which further authenticates our point that we the original people. That's all. It's that simple. But you know they can't handle that because that put us in the Levant during the time of the Israelites, admixed with the population, and now you can't say nothing else to us when we say we Israelites and we E1B1A because the genetic data says it's true. I didn't write that. I didn't make it up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't pull it out of thin air. Anybody can go online right now, pull it up, and read that article, and it's going to say just what we said it is, that our ancestry goes back to the pre-exilic Israelites, period.
Yeah, man, that's a kill shot. That was a kill, and it showed that Asar, Mr. Science guy, didn't understand DNA as well. That showed that, because remember he got hung up on the 3 to 5%.
Yeah, he was talking about, well, it's just 3 to 5%. Think about how minute that is. Nah, man, if you look at it on a genetic level, that's just going back in time and gives you the date when they actually admix with the people. So, but you know, it's easy to play like you know something when you know your audience don't read, and here reading is fundamental.
Right. We push reading here, man. You better read. But that was a bomb, man. James brought that out. Brothers had asked him when that happened, man. That happened like 6. Damn, it's got to been 6. It had to be like 6 years now, right? That conversation.
Probably like about 4 or 5. We had it clipped out, but they had got it. So many strikes on it. They had deleted it. But it was something like Israelites stay out of West Africa back on Garfield Channel or something. And me and Jashu came on there and bited them real quick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. This is why, to my brother, sorry, I got a message for you. Please, brother, do us all a favor and
read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. R-E-A-D-A-B-O-O-K. 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 Not a sports page, not a magazine, but a book, nigga. A fucking book, nigga. Not a sports page, not a magazine, but a book, nigga. A fucking book, nigga. Not a sports page, not a magazine, but a book, nigga. A fucking book, nigga. Not a sports page, not a magazine, but a book, nigga. A fucking book, nigga. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking.
yeah, man, I had to let that linger in, you know what I'm saying, in the ether, man. I had to let that you know what I'm saying? That's gotta reverberate, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, man. Hey, we gotta make reading popular, you know what I mean, in our community.
Right.
And y'all look at it this way. If you don't want to be wrong and look like a dumbass in front of people who know what they talking about, read a damn book.
There you
That's
go.
all.
Todd Meek says, "What's the link to that paper?" I put the source on the page. Let me copy and paste it for you. Well, no, I don't want to interrupt my let me just grab the paper for you because I'm gonna have to go out of the reading view. But that's not the paper. Hold on.
You just go into Google and type in African gene flow into Southern European Jews and Levantines, and it'll pop right up.
Right. Yeah, man. On +1, yeah. Yeah, man, that was a kill shot when James, brought that out. They didn't know what to do. They were scrambling, man. They were scrambling, trying to figure out. Oh man, James, he's lying, and then they go read it, and then they're like, oh damn.
Yeah, because they always trying to say y'all ain't got no genetic ties to that land. Y'all ain't connected to them. No way. Well, it's like, well, damn. I know 77% of African Americans got Yoruba DNA. And according to the geneticists, we tie directly to that land during the time which the Bible would have been written, most of it. Just is what it is.
Right. We're seeing material culture during that time develop. We're seeing, certain practices taking place in the Levant. We're seeing the stone altars being placed during that time. We're seeing the 7-spouted lamps. We're seeing everything that we're reading about, in the early chapters.
The reforms of Josiah doing that around just shortly before that time, huh?
Right. And we're seeing the kings being cemented in history and the black obelisk. So we what's funny?
Them tear down shrines and then putting toilet seats in there.
Yep.
Shitting on the other nations' gods.
Yep. That's what we see during that time, man.
And they black. Who else would have said something like that?
Right. All right, that's the paper right there. Everybody got it now. Yeah, powerful information, man. These brothers wasn't ready for it, man. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a bunch of scrambling, a bunch of special pleading, and trying to get up out of that ass whooping.
Hey, it was the start of the journey of building the models, man. Because once you got something like that, I had to be like, man, I know I can build, because I believe God is true in what he say. I believe my ancestors wrote down ancient history from their perspective. So I believe it's true. So I believe that if I look for the evidence gonna pop up. And guess what? If you seek, you will find, because this evidence just can't stop popping up on the shoes.
Man, this is everywhere.
Like every day.
2020 papers come out, 2020, it's 2021, all type of papers is just unveiling and bringing more and shedding more light to it and really killing that old antiquated garbage, what I'm saying, that these people are holding on so desperately to.
Yeah, and if you look in like the mid 2010s and stuff, when they first started really using our DNA and searching around the world to see what genetic ties it, they openly admit that they wasn't even looking for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't using our DNA for nothing. They wasn't doing nothing with it. They just starting to begin to look into prehistory as far as we was concerned. So anytime you talking about all that stuff from the 60s and 70s, which most of these guys run and play off of, all that stuff is outdated. All this stuff coming out from about 2010 until now is just knocking down all that false information they used to give us and unveiling the truth. You know what I'm saying? The scripture said that the earth would open up his mouth. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's doing right now. Open up his mouth and revealing the truth, man. Can't be hid.
Not entertained.
Are you not entertained? That's a fact, man. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know we're gonna be we pissing these people off, but I'm the head chairman of I don't give a damn committee. So let's get back.
Assholes by nature.
ABN, man. ABN. All right, so let's get back into the Japanese writer comes to the same conclusion that we've been talking about. It says, what was the haplogroup of the ancient native Israelites? It seems that their native DNA was haplogroup DE or E, which has a YAP gene sequence. Now, we don't know this guy. We ain't never met this guy, Aramasa Kubo, but he seems to come to the same conclusion that we've came to through our studies. He's saying the ancient Israelite, native Israelite will have to either be haplogroup DE or E, which has the YAP gene sequence, the genetic relative of the Japanese haplogroup D. We can know it seeing that the Samaritan Levite priests belong to haplogroup E, as already mentioned, right? Haplogroup E, ancient affinity with Jews. Furthermore, every Jewish group in the world has haplogroup E prominently. At a website of a DNA test provider, the family tree DNA is written about the specific type E1B1B1, which belongs to haplogroup E as follows. E1B1B1 is found in all Jewish populations from Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Kurdish, Yemen, Samaritan, and even among the Jerba Jewish groups. Thus, haplogroup E is found in all Jewish populations prominently. Furthermore, as haplogroup E and D, YAP gene sequence is found not only in current Jewish populations, but also in the descendants of the so-called 10 lost tribes of Israel. And he also mentions the Igbo in this article, right? And the article is DNA shows Japanese and Jewish peoples are relatives by Aramasa Kubo. If anybody want to go read that, I did cover his whole article on the channel, so you can actually watch that. It's called Japanese Writer Aramasa Kubo on the channel, and I covered it in detail. All right, so he basically says the same thing about arising outside the continent of Africa. It says Y chromosome DNA has many types called haplogroups. Among all the haplogroups, only haplogroup D and haplogroup E have YAP gene sequence. Only D and E have the common YAP genes, showing they came from the same ancestor. Please memorize D and E. They are relatives. Nearly 40% of the Japanese belong to haplogroup D, having YAP gene sequence. Originally in the Middle East, there was a haplogroup DE, which was later separated to D and E. So he subscribes to the ideology, the idea that DE originated in the Middle East and they split in DE, right? E1B1A within the original Israelite cluster is backed up with Ramesses III's Y DNA. Now, why would I say that? Ramesses III's paternal lineage belongs to haplogroup EV38, from which your line also stems. This is from my 23andMe results. This is what it says. You and Ramesses III share an ancient paternal line ancestor who probably lived in North Africa or Western Asia. And that's backed up what we already read with Prior Marjani's work, that this group, that the original Jewish group was already admixed with these Africans, and they used the Yoruba, which would be E1B1A individuals. And then when we see Ramesses III, he has E1B1A, and they even postulate that his paternal line could come from Western Asia. Why is that important? When you study Ramesses, where did his family come from? They came from avarice. Avarice is the origin of the Ramesses lineage. And this is on the Oxford.
That's huge right there, man.
That's his lineage.
I didn't know that one. That one caught me off guard.
Yeah. This is from the Oxford History of Ancient Egypt, Ian Shaw, page number 355. Paramasu, which is Ramesses I. Paramasu's family came from avarice, the former capital of the Hyksos, and the role of its local god Seth, who had retained strong connections with the Canaanite god Baal, appears to have been comparable with that of Horus, Hutnesu, and Horemheb's career. Okay, so they had Canaanite deities going on there, Astarte, Baal, and so on and so forth, because these were Asiatics still living in avarice, and that's where Paramasu comes from. The Ramesside lineage comes from that, and we know the Ramesside lineage is E1B1A because we have Ramesses III's DNA and his son's DNA. Okay, and they're connected to avarice. And why is that huge? Because avarice is a repository for Asiatics.
Yep, postulated that that's where the Israelites would have been. Right in Goshen.
Man, I told you Africans, I'm coming for Ramesses, man. I told you. I'm claiming mine. All of it. All our lineage, I'm claiming it.
Wasn't the Ramesside dynasty around the same time Rehoboam fled down there into Egypt?
I think so, yeah, because the Ramesses, that dynasty lasted a long time.
Yeah,
so that would make sense.
About, what, 300 years or so?
I think so. I'm not looking at the dates, but I could pull it up after this. Yeah, that would make sense. Asiatics from avarice, just to, recapitulate what we just brought up. The Amu was a contemporary term used to distinguish the people of avarice from Egyptians. It was used long before the Second Intermediate Period and was still in use long after in order to denote, in a general sense, the inhabitants of Syria and Palestine. Egyptologists conveniently translate Amu as Asiatics. So these people in Avaris were Asiatics. They were always known as Asiatics for a long period of time. Okay? The Oxford History of Ancient Egypt. And we see Ramesses, his family, coming from Avaris, which has this long history and ties with the Asiatics. And we see it with the deities of Astarte, Baal being mentioned, and these Asiatic deities there as well, and practices as well, burial practices, as we see in Avaris and Teledaba.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the evidence go back as far as, what, about 9,000 BCE with Asiatics coming down into the Levant and slowly bringing in, the advent of agriculture. They went through a couple of race wars with them where they swear that these Hamites that slaughtered our ancestors were the first time they tried to come down there.
Right, man. Right, man. Look, man. We clearing Ramesses' name. Ramesses is not the pharaoh of the Exodus. Can we stop doing like y'all want my ancestor to be the pharaoh of the oppression, the one of the most villainous people in the history of villains? No, we not rocking like that, man. We claiming Ramesses, man.
I have to say one thing.
Go ahead.
Is Ramesses the second that they argue is the pharaohs of the Exodus? Ramesses the third ain't even related to Ramesses the second.
Right.
He just took up the name.
But Paramesses is the first one. Ramesses the first that comes from there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to look into it, man. I just don't like, saying they dirty. Look, the 18th dynasty get all the love. Then we get to the Ramesside Empire. We get all the hate and the shade. Saying you get treated like a nigga, man.
Well, they do happen to be niggas.
All right, let's keep going. The Bantu expansion could be responsible for pushing R1 lineages into Western Africa. This is out of place. I wanted this earlier, but we got it right here. This is supposed to coincide with the sub-Saharan Africa, Western Asian route into sub-Saharan Africa, right? Since the presence of this lineage in Africa has been claimed to be a genetic signature of a possible backflow migration from West Asia into Africa. Here we observe R1, B1, and 12 Bantu agriculturalist populations ranging from 2 to 20% and in 2 pygmy individuals. A network of R1, B1 haplotypes performed using STR data. However, this estimated expansion time could represent an underestimation and may simply show the expansion of a subset of the diversity within the haplogroup R1, B1 to West Central Africa through the Bantu expansion. This is how they're saying they got there, through the Bantu expansion, which would make sense if the Bantu expansion is starting in West Asia and then spreading and radiating into Africa, explaining again the bananas. Again, bananas come from Southwest Asia, coconuts, Southwest Asia. Okay, chicken seeds, Southwest Asia. The pyrotechnology, Southwest Asia. Humpback cattle, Southwest Asia. Why do they have all this Southwest Asian stuff on them? Why?
Horses.
What are you saying?
I was saying horses. Horses come from Southwest Asia.
Come on, horses. Come on, man. Talk to me, man. Come on. Like everything they got. And then when they get to Africa, they change it from a dung hut society to, stone walls and meta populations. This is what we see. Gaio, Ouagadougou, and all that. That's our ancestors. We did that. We brought that. You understand? So obviously we had understanding of technology and construction.
Nah, yeah, we just made that up out of thin air in West Africa. We just pooped out of thin air, made up metallurgy out of thin air, farming out of thin air, just no connection to the rest of the ancient world whatsoever,
Right.
We was just dumb niggas until we just, I guess, seen the European advancing in culture and just saw them and just made it up out of thin air. Oh, I can do what they can do.
Right.
Poof, like magic. No development whatsoever.
Man, hey, that's the Hermetic hypothesis. That shows you who actually believes in the Hermetic hypothesis.
Hey. We've been arguing from the get-go. Before we ever studied the DNA, we came from the Middle East, huh?
Exactly. Man.
Sad thing was, as soon as we got to looking, God was proved true and every man a liar,
Big facts. Big facts, man. Big facts. We can see it. We can see the evidence right here in your damn face. All right. So it says, having been shown, it says the expansion of a subset of the diversity within haplogroup R1B1 to West Central Africa through the Bantu expansion, having been shown to be especially frequent in northern Cameroon near the putative Bantu expansion origin. All right. And the source for that is genetic and demographic implications of the Bantu expansions. Insight from Human Paternal Lineages by Jima Bernil Lee, Oxford Academic, published April 15, 2019. Again, my sources will always be on the left side of the screen. All right. Again, to recapitulate, go back. Haplogroup E arose outside of Africa, right? We see notable increases in the number of lineages outside of Africa 50 to 55,000 years ago, perhaps reflecting the geographic expansion and differentiation of Eurasian populations as they settled the vast expanse of these continents, consistent with the previous proposals. A parsimonious interpretation of the phylogeny is that the predominant African haplogroup E arose outside of the continent. Where am I getting this information from? Did I just type this up? You know what I'm saying? No, this comes from David Posnick. Okay. This is from a paper called Punctuated Births in Human Male Demography, inferred from 1,244 worldwide Y chromosome sequences. You can get that on the PMC, published April 25, 2016. You can see geneticists are coming to this conclusion that haplogroup E arose outside of Africa. They're using phylogeny, they're using DE, they're seeing DE outside of Africa, they're seeing D outside of Africa, primarily DM174 outside of Africa. So they get to E. Why are we making E African? That's the argument. Why are we forcing E to be African? Well, the reason why he's doing it, because modern population density, because that's where we are in today's world.
That, and they're religiously tied to the continent of Africa. They can't see themselves being nowhere else but in the motherland, with all the mineral resources. Look. Ain't nothing wrong with saying we came in later and civilized that land. Ain't nothing wrong with saying that. We came in, took over, and civilized it. What's wrong with that?
Nothing at all.
You want us to be swinging in the bush huts and in the trees and stuff like the bush people? Running around butt naked like the Khoisan?
Right. Yep, that's what they want.
With a little cloth over our waist, looking like Adam and Eve.
Looking like Tarzan.
That's what they want. They want to see women running around naked because they horny. They lustful.
I don't know. The way Shaka almost attacked that straw, he might want to look at the men. Oh, man.
He is a true follower of Nilotic culture. He's high priest of the cult of the god men.
Yeah. That's a true Nilo right
there. He was converted the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, straw.
Oh, man. Say it ain't so. Okay. All right, we get to the end of this. Levantine populations were dominated by haplogroup E. The finding contrasts with both early Neolithic and Epipaleolithic Levantine populations, which were dominated by haplogroup E, and later Bronze Age individuals, of all of whom belong to haplogroup J.
Look, don't J seem like it's just been tagging along with us throughout the millennia?
It do.
Now it want to be us.
Yeah, man. You come around and see how we do things and operate. Now you want to, you know what I'm saying? You want to, duplicate that. You know what I'm saying?
But it's most closely related to the lineages that our ancestors would have called Japhetic, right?
Oh, man, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Then how is it Shemitic if Shem would have been D and E, which arose in the Near East, like where the Bible said that Shem's descendants would have went. And we know and we know the Persians and the Medes was out of place over there in the Near East. That's why we find some C, some F, Some J's over there. There go that J again.
Yep.
Falling around us agriculturalists wanting to be us.
Want to be us, and that goes back to Rob Barnes' point. Oh, they keeping the culture. They keeping the culture. So damn what, man? Anybody can practice. Okay, white people do hip hop. Eminem do hip hop. Is he the originator of hip hop? Is his people the originator of hip hop?
In 100 years, his bus gonna be the only one in the museum. I mean, greatest rapper ever. Yeah, he's the greatest white rapper ever. I get
Right.
that.
Man, this is crazy, man. Somebody asks, yo, James, do you have your Y DNA?
I seen my brothers, which we got the same daddy. So I'm E1B1A.
Yeah, I figured that. All right, man, that's one more slide, man. As y'all can see, the Levantine populations were dominated by Haplogroup E. It's not even, again, this came from Nature. Edoine, Haley, and others. August 2018. Ancient DNA from the Chalcolithic Israel reveals the role of population mixture and cultural transformation. Okay. Up-to-date information. So take it up with them. Natufians, a link between the Levant and Africa. Such a scenario would also explain the presence of Y chromosome haplogroup E in the Natufians and Levantine farmers. A common link between the Levant and Africa. All right, and that's from the Paleolithic DNA from the Caucasus reveal a core of West Eurasian ancestry. BioRxiv is the site you can get this from. Iosif Lazarus et al. September 21, 2018 is when it was published. Again, left side of the screen is where you're going to see all my sources. Conclusion of the matter. The data available leads me to believe that haplogroup E arose outside of Africa. I mean, some of the oldest clades is in France, Corsica, and the BMAC and Iran area. We see that, right? We can see E1B1B, expanding from the Levant, going through the Balkans into Europe. We're seeing it. We can see all this history. We can see all this evidence. We see our DNA through the Yoruba being attached to the ancient Israelites in the Levant around 3,000 years ago. We're seeing all this information. So again, the data available leads me to believe that haplogroup E arose outside Africa. And then we're seeing DE outside of Africa. We're seeing D go all the way to Japan. So why when we get to E, we get remedial. We get very remedial when we get to haplogroup E, our ancestors. So many ancient specimens corroborate this claim. We find E1B1B all throughout ancient Europe, and we find it in the Levant. We find E1B1A in France, Iran, in Corsica. We find individuals with E1B1A clade with significant Eurasian admixture, which dates back approximately 3,000 years ago. Yoruba DNA was used and found in the pre-diaspora Israelite cluster around 3,000 years ago. The Bantu expansion is postulated to have happened around 3,000 years ago, and with them, many Southwest Asian materials are carried into sub-Saharan Africa.
Hey, I want to say something to that. That Bantu expansion is like eerily around the same time when all of these different Israelite colonies were set up in northern Africa. We got some dating back to around 1000 BCE, about 900 something like Morocco. We got Carthage. We have Cyrenaica. All these different places where we had colonies throughout North Africa. And then shortly after that, the Bantu expansion kicking off. Around the time when we getting ready to go to war with Rome and different places like that for control of the Mediterranean. I mean, that's just eerie to me.
Yeah. And why would the Jews flee? Because St. Jerome says the Jews fled into all the way to the western tip of Africa. That's what St. Jerome stated.
Hey, and Herodotus said that Nico II commissioned the Phoenicians to take them around and circumnavigate Africa and colonize it.
Yeah.
During the time when, the Assyrians and stuff was coming in and going to war. So, I mean, like, around that time of that Assyrian invasion, there's a lot of traffic that suddenly started coming into West Africa, man. And I'm not saying it's only Israelites, but it's a whole lot of people from Western Asia coming into West Africa.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Queen Dido of Carthage, the first of Carthage, she's connected to King Ahab. Um, what was King? The King of Tyre. I'm trying to think of his name right now. King Hiru, I think his name was. Uh,
Harem.
Harem. Yeah, yeah. That brother. He's according to Josephus, he's of Naphtali because we were mixing with these people and picking up ancestry with those around us.
We do have someone else of the Israelite culture named Hiram. I was curious, but I just thought maybe Israelite language and Canaanite language so close. I just thought maybe that they just shared a name in common.
Yeah, I wonder what I can't remember what the scriptures say about King Hiram, but the mother being Dan and the father being Josephus saying the father being Naphtali or something like that. Either way, it's showing that there was an Israelite introgression amongst the early Tyrians, and like you brought up, we can see that connection with Carthage, which would go back to Eldad the Danites' point about the Israelites going in migrating. And if you read Eldad the Danites' work about Israelites going into Africa, conquering, it sounds like the Bantu expansion. It sounds like
don't it?
Yeah.
Don't it?
Yeah, like yo,
we might just have to do a book report on Eldad the Danite, man.
Yeah, we can do that, man. You read that thing, man. They going down there, they whooping ass, and taking names and taking land.
And they got oral traditions, you know what I'm saying? Like the presentation I did on Maccabees TV, where I was going into the Yoruba oral traditions, the Hausa oral traditions, the the Igbo oral tradition. All of them talking about them fighting with these outsiders for a bunch of for about 2 or 3 generations, and then they eventually made them their war chiefs. All of them.
That sound like the Bantu expansion, man. Coming in, whooping ass, displacing the men, taking the women, and claiming the land and starting that civilization up, man. Getting them metal populations popping,
Mm-hmm.
So
and then it seemed like a second wave came in and did the same thing to them.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Same thing in Israel, man. We were there, then the Syrians came, and the rest is history. So, man, this history, like it's replete with awesomeness, and I want to always bring our ancestry to the forefront because I think, especially with the African stuff, right? A lot of it is conflated with other people. You understand? Like, we brought up 18th dynasty. That's another lineage that we don't belong to. The Khoisan. A lot of people say, "Oh, we brought humanity into fruition." And when you're saying that, you're actually talking about the Khoisan. You're not talking about Haplogroup E. And don't be a smart ass and say, "Well, they got E1B1A amongst them." Yeah, because of the Bantu expansion. I'm talking about the actual original people of the Khoisan people.
They the second oldest divergent lineage. Second. They found the one more ancient than us.
Right. The dude in what was he? Carolina? Yeah.
No, not the A00. It's one that they say diverged slightly after Neanderthal and archaic human diverged. So it's like probably the earliest modern human in existence DNA, but they're just not sure yet. But they know it's slightly more archaic than the Khoisan.
Hey, James, you can answer this one. I know you love answering this one. Vernon Robinson says, so they had Yoruba DNA and Wormian cranials?
Exactly, man. People don't understand about the Wormian bones connection, man. Yeah, when you go to the tomb 120 Lachish, you'll see all those Wormian bones in the cranials. 50% of the Phoenician cranials have Wormian bones. We have Wormian bones. Down in Europe, especially in the old world, in Nigeria, and then you want to talk about in India, are the two places with the people with the most wormy and bones. And India was a rest spot for slaves going out towards the Orient, for African slaves going out towards the Orient. So I mean, I think the evidence is overabundant of the connection of the Wormian bones with ancient Israel and with us and with West Africans, man. It's just too much to be even argued against at this point. But Garfield don't like that Wormian bones, man. He said Jashub, he was talking bad on Jashub for picking up that Wormian bone point.
Right. And he didn't even break it down. He just said, "Oh, this paper right here debunks you." No, you got to go into the paper. It showed me how it debunked. I don't understand it, man. Show me how that debunked it. You understand? Let me see. It was something else I saw in the comments as well. But yeah, but that wormy and bone, that's powerful. That's powerful information.
Because you find that in the New World, in the early, Peruvian mummies?
Yep.
But I wonder if maybe a D might carry Wormian bones as well. I'm gonna have to study into that.
It could be. It could be. They postulate that D was a part of ancient America, genetic makeup, but they eventually died out.
Probably brought the farming, because they talk about that later. It was around 600 BCE or something. Expansion from the Polynesian islands or something coming into South America. So maybe it came in with them. That's when farming popped up.
It could have been. Those original Japanese had to be maritime, because even in Harea's work, they said it's a mystery on how they got to Japan.
Man, look, they was talking about Neanderthals had boats. So if Neanderthals had boats, we damn sure had boats.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, Neanderthal to me ain't nothing but a monkey. A meat-eating monkey.
Hey, James, it's a body of water separate East China from Japan. How else they get there? Like, I don't understand it, man. Like
they swam.
They swam.
They
did
jumped
suicide
from island to island, man. They had hops.
They didn't just swim. They did suicide. They touched the island, went back, and then.
Hey, y'all the ones who don't believe in Aquaman. That's based on ancient Polynesians, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this other. Somebody said something. Oh man, this is beautiful right here. Maybe that's why a lot of kingdoms in sub-Saharan Africa are all CE kingdoms, but not BCE kingdoms.
Exactly. And the ones that even are BCE, you don't see them until after 700 BCE.
That's
which
a fact.
Is around the time of the Assyrian invasion into the Levant.
That's a fact. I'm gonna start covering African civilization history on here as well. We're gonna go into Ouagadougou, and you're gonna be surprised at them dates, man. A lot of people gonna be surprised at them dates. They think it's going back 7,000 BCE or something. Like, nah, it don't. It's, like you said, James, it's very recent.
Mm-hmm. So we just got there, and it's crazy that all the action was going on in the Near East when we start coming through there. You know what I'm saying? In our little hometown of Israel, where we've already confirmed, you know what I'm saying, the E1B1A was part of that ancestral population group.
Right. All right. I put the link in the back chat. Two brothers had something to say. If you're still here, you know what I'm saying, you're welcome to come on here and tell us why we're wrong or why I'm wrong or whatever, what you disagree with. You understand? You're welcome to come on here and say it. Dash Sharab said Ethiopian Highlanders are not Haplogroup E, they are Haplogroup J. So if that's the truth, I will accept it. Just come on here and show me. But Multiman was E1B1A2.
But that's a totalitarian statement, which off basis I don't see why he would say that like that. Is he just saying like a majority of them are J, or what? And even saying that, I wouldn't find that to be accurate. They agro-pastoralists, ain't they?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, so
And we don't.
oh, go
I
ahead.
don't have. Yeah, I don't have a dispute about different clades in there. That was my whole point in the in the presentation. We know there was a Eurasian transmigration through the different clades. So
Exactly.
I really wish he come on here and tell me what he's referring to.
And all the modern populations aren't directly related to the ancient populations. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like that's the thing. A and B was in Nile Valley as well, according to a lot of these studies, and got pushed towards the south climb, which means it was pushed later south, like during the first century common era. You know what I mean? They was pushed further south. So I mean, like I said, a lot of this stuff keeps going on around times things are going on in our homeland in the first century or in the Mediterranean where we had colonies all over it. And I think people gonna be shocked. You say you gonna do the African, I might have to do a little one on Europe because now I seen what you just brought here. I'm gonna finish out my presentation and have it ready by Sunday. I'm gonna do
Oh
it
yeah,
Sunday.
man, that's gonna be powerful. That's gonna
Yeah,
be
I'm gonna do it
powerful,
Sunday.
man. They ain't ready. They ain't ready. I'm gonna tell G-Con go ahead and get you a front row seat.
Oh man, you know that him and Kevin don't want none of that conversation, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Where's old dude at, man? Where is he at? Tell him to click the link.
This
He
is what
said,
we be
please.
talking about, man. We put out this information and boys get quiet, man. We can't buy a debate. People be like, man, put up $1,000. All right, cool. Nah, you ain't ready, man. You ain't ready. Wait a minute, man. You said put up 1,000. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Hey, I guess Chemo responded to G-Con. He said, Big Shemite. Big Shemite, man. The hell is a big Hamite?
Hey, he want to be ham, man. Let him be ham. He'll throw away his destiny. Hey, I can't do nothing for him. Then that's his destiny to throw away. Shit.
Hey, Ty Meek says, please do one on the note culture. In the
I
Nissy
did
Gritty.
one that presented a bit of information on the note culture on Maccabees TV, but maybe we can go into maybe like 2000 BCE down to about 1000 BCE, or maybe to the first century Common Era on migrations into and out of Africa. You know, different kingdoms that popped up around that time and which had Israelite connections, and that'll be pretty much going into what Eldad the Danite was talking about the empire that took 200 and something days to walk across by foot across the Sahara.
Yeah, man. Somebody, what you think about this? Class in session said it has always has been said that the Hiscos are the ancestors of Fulani. What you think about that?
I mean, some of the Fulani people do carry haplogroup T, which we know is Eurasian. We know that amongst the Hyksos, it was definitely some Eurasians because they came from that Canaan area where it was full of Eurasian, African, Near Eastern, all of them mixed together. So I wouldn't put it past it. Is evidence also that they may have been in medieval Europe as well, and brought because they have a ancient mark. Well, the T marker is connected to the ancient Europeans and stuff like that. So I don't have no issue with nobody saying nothing like that. I think that's very plausible. I
Right,
mean, you
right.
get R markers there. You can get some T's.
Yeah, could be. Um, C. Williams 26 says modern history tries to limit us to Africa. I completely agree with this brother, man.
That was the whole purpose of modern history. It wasn't that it's tried to do. That was its damn purpose.
Damn.
Our evil brother, you know what I'm saying, E1B1B, who went into Germany and wrote up all this racist literature
True.
about us, making us the seed of Ham, but he our evil twin, and somehow he's Shem. But he the one came up with this, and the purpose was bottleneck us into Africa, disconnect us from our ancient culture, so we wouldn't know who the hell we were, and wouldn't know that we've been fighting with them for control of this world for at least the last 3,000 years at least.
Yeah, yeah, roundabout.
I mean, think about it. We went. It seemed like E1B1A went down in Africa, and B1 E1B1B went on a murderous rampage through Europe. Far more murderous than anything we did in West Africa. They considered the most murderous people in human history. I mean, we didn't wipe out complete haplogroups like they did.
Yeah, man, that population replacement was no joke. The ING, and they pretty much, like you said, annihilated them cats, man. They got them up out of there. So,
quick, fast, and in a hurry. You know
yeah,
I mean?
man.
Until they got up to Norway, and I guess they liked the way them blonde haired, blue eyes folks was looking up there and just mixed with them. Or maybe it's because they was tall and was going on warrior rampages they damn self.
Haplogroup E's kryptonite.
Yeah, that's E1B1B kryptonite. That long blonde haired, blue eyed girl up in the Netherlands. With no curves, you know what I'm saying?
No curves,
built like a prepubescent boy.
Washboard. Low Avenue says A is L and E haplogroup related. I'm guessing he said the L maternal, mtDNA, and the E haplogroup related.
I think it's L3, ain't it? And E1B1A.
Yep.
Then L0 would be like Khoisan.
Damn, I forgot to put that in the presentation. I was going to show L in Europe too. 8,000 years. L3 in Europe. 8,000 years ago. And if that's our running mate,
that is our woman.
Come on. You know what I'm saying? What does that imply?
We were there too. She ain't going nowhere without her man.
Exactly.
Definitely a woman ain't going nowhere without her man in the ancient world.
I can see the rebuttal. Though.
She was
that was a slave trade. Yeah.
As always, the rebuttal. Hey, that's what Kevin G was trying to say on the slick that time he was on the channel. Wait a minute. It could have went the other way. Yeah, you pretty much saying Solomon went down there and took slaves and brought them back, nigga.
Right.
That's the only way it went the other way. You just committed to being a slave.
Right? Anytime you see our DNA, slaves. Anytime you see black people anywhere outside Africa, slaves. That's the biggest invocation in the scientific and historic realms. Like that's what they invoke all the time.
I mean,
slavery.
Yeah. We couldn't just get up and be like, you know what, let's go farm. We are the first people. Let's do first people stuff, like invent farming. You know what I mean? We couldn't do that now. It had to be like 4 or 5, you know what I'm saying, mutations later that this E1B1B come along. Let's just give him credit for everything.
Yeah.
Your twin brother, you want to give him credit for everything. He's a genius and you just the basis of all people.
Pretty much. The base, eating bugs under the brush, living in dung huts, like you said, half-ass naked. You know what I'm saying? You walking around, not a kente cloth. You didn't have a kente cloth on. You had that little leaf thong on.
Yeah, that's it. Looking like little chimpanzee people.
Oh, man. Hold on. What is this brother talking? AJ, you got to, hey, man. Let me holler at you. You're going to have to come on the stream and explain this. This brother says E1B1 is a special ancient lineage. It comes from a mighty hunter named Nimrod who was very intelligent. That's why we call smart people Nimrods. Yo.
I thought we called dumb people Nimrods.
What is this brother talking about? Like,
But I don't know where he just pulled that one out. He gonna have to show me some empirical data that links Nimrod with EP2.
Come on, AJ, go on ahead. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna alter call your ass. You're gonna have to go
Yeah,
to
the
the altar.
Bible say he come from a hunter and gatherer culture and being a Hamite. So I don't know how he would be a pastoralist, an agriculturalist all of a sudden.
Yeah. Come on. Um,
That's why he called a hunter. You know, that's what hunter and gatherers do. They hunt.
facts. Yeah, Keith Lowley says haplogroup A I found among the Sudanese in the wait, what are you trying to say? Haplogroup A.
Yeah, indigenous Nile people.
Yeah. They were. I'm guessing that's what I guess he asking a question or making a statement. One of the two. I don't know.
Yeah, like I think I don't misquote, but I think the Dinka are A.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, man. I mean, they still there in them areas. So
Yeah, people in the Sudan, them super tall, lanky people, they haplogroup A.
I saw another one that you might like right here. Have y'all looked into Gobekli Tepe? They say it's about 6,000 years older than the oldest pyramid.
Around anywhere from 10 to 12,000 BCE. Ancient pyramid. If you ask me, it looked like they was doing some type of cattle herding. Looked like a place where a sacrifice was made. You know, according to my ancient tradition, at the bottom of the mountain in Ararat, my ancestor gave a huge sacrifice for them surviving the global climatic event they call the flood. So it looked like a memorialization to that event to me.
Yeah, I knew you would chime in on that. I know you bring up Gobekli Tepe a lot. So,
and it's also they talk about the astrological event that happened about 10,000 years ago, where it was some type of strange like electronic storm up in the sky and stuff like that. And I think it also it astrologically aligned with Sirius B as well. So it's also a place of in astronomy, a place of astronomy which was closely connected with agriculture in the ancient times anyway.
Gobekli Tepe, where is that located again?
In Turkey.
Turkey, yeah, man. Shout out to the mighty Hebrew, man. Shout out to the mighty Hebrew. Hey, I gotta talk to what's his breakdown on Gobekli Tepe, because you know he brought up the Hindus Valley and stuff like that. So I wonder what's his breakdown on that. The brother Vernon said was Gobekli Tepe built by Haplogroup E.
The evidence, I mean, if Gobekli Tepe would have been built by a culture, I believe, pretty closely connected to the Natufians, because it's around about that time period. Natufians were dominantly haplogroup E1B1 and E1B1B. And I'm under the impression that it may have been that E1B1A hadn't even mutated yet. So I connect myself to them through EP2, my ancestral clade.
Yep. So Vernon, man, don't be shy either, man. Click that link. You want to come in and ask some questions up in personal. You know what I'm saying? We had two naysayers in here, man, and I thought they wanted, to tell us that we were wrong and explain themselves, but they never clicked the link, man. What happened?
They heckle us, man. The same reason we can't get no debates, man. When the truth come out, it just, lies got to shut up and hide. That's all they can do. Run and hide in the corner.
Yeah, man. You guys playing chicken, but eventually gonna get hit by a Mack truck playing chicken, man. So did I read this one earlier? They swear we hate being African. They think just because you are black, you are from Africa, which definitely is racist science. Got the nerve to call themselves woke, but preaching that biased nonsense, and that's a fact.
Yeah, man. Preaching that outdated 1960s, you Negroes ain't nothing but slaves teaching.
Yep. All right, man. Y'all better get your questions in fast, man. I don't see nothing else. If it ain't nothing else, I'm gonna conclude the class. Let me see. I'm strolling through. Ramal says Garfield is the god of hating. Kimo says Garfield be lying, man. Yeah, Garfield, he's a lying. You know what? Shut your mouth.
He all about attention, man. Anything that'll get attention to him. He don't care if it's the truth or lie or what, man. But hey, I give him this. You know what I'm saying? I don't see many people bring PhDs on their channel just to whoop their ass. You know what I'm saying? So I got to give him his kudos for that. Because I wouldn't bring nobody on my channel. I knew they wasn't going to do nothing but slam me around like a rag doll.
That is true. Dr. Rob said he can't come on. I guess you at work or something. I don't even know what that means, but you watching and you comment. But you said I can't come on, bro. But the Habesha Ethiopian Highlanders are Haplogroup J, recent admix from Yemen. Again, that's an absolute statement. Can I get a citation? You obviously watching. Can I get a citation so I can refer to some Y chromosomes, some data tables, and I can actually do some comparative analysis? Please, sir. D-Red, Blue Collar Scholar in the building. Say what it do. Listen, man. D-Red got something special for y'all tomorrow. D-Red. We are going to be covering Horace Butler's When the Rocks Cry Out. You understand?
Oh, man. Goodbye, Abo community.
Oh, we're gonna be covering it. D-Red. I told D-Red he got to spearhead it, man. This is his baby. He got a rocket to sleep. So, y'all come through tomorrow so you can see us, read through Horace Butler's work on the Rocks Cry Out. If y'all not familiar with that, the Rocks Cry Out, the basic premise is everything over there in the Mesopotamia area, Egypt, Israel is in it's in the Americas. Okay, that's what he's saying. He's saying Egypt is in America. I forget where. Israel's in like Peru, I think. I can't remember everywhere. And the Nile is the Mississippi River. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm quoting this man right. I really don't know. I just know the essence of his argument is a lot of these places that here's my thing, man. Oh, here go D-Red. D-Red gonna let y'all, he gonna be able to explain it a lot better than me. You know what I'm saying? He familiar with Horace Butler's work. So, all right, man, what's going on, D-Red?
Shit, what it do, baby? Still finna go grab some paper with
you breaking up, brother. You breaking up. D-Red. That's Brother Red, man. We go give him some, give him some time to get it together. Ramal Yahoo says, question, if African Americans come from Perez lineage, does Ashkenazi come from Zerah's lineage? I know Perez is a son of Judah. I know that. I don't know how you're determining all African Americans coming from a son of Judah. Does Ashkenazi come from Zerah? Who is Zerah? I gotta look that up. I gotta look at the genealogy and figure out who you're talking about. Well, I'll be hard pressed to say. Dang, D-Red, you on 2 accounts? D-Red.
Yeah.
Hey, you was breaking up.
Hello?
You was breaking up.
Yeah, because I left my cousin's house and I guess the Wi-Fi clicked off. I was going from my Wi-Fi to my cellular shit. But yeah, we're gonna be going over there on Walk Cry. We're gonna be going over there little old bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be tagging a whole bunch of Aboriginal niggas. You know what I'm saying? I'm try to go Aboriginal power shit tonight to promote it for the mall. Like I said.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now, James?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so we're gonna be going over that shit, little bullshit tomorrow. Just showing little simple shit that how it's easy to debunk a book like that when you do basic research. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take a Danny from MBK approach to it. We're just gonna do simple shit to show you how these people are not even vetting the sources, not even on the small scale, on the primitive scale, the way you can debunk that book, man. You know what I mean? People just believe in shit because they want to believe it. They ain't got no real information to substantiate it. And yeah, man, we gonna go over the book, man. I mean, he wrote the book in a novel form. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even understand how people actually believe it's actually history. He wrote it in a novel sense. He didn't write it like a informative book anyway. You know what I'm saying? So,
yo, D-Red, tell the people, man, give them a little preview. He said he got his information from what now? The ancient people, the ancient Egyptians?
The ancient records. He said he got it from the ancient records. You know what I'm saying? And so when you ask him what are those ancient records, he can't really give you no information. He said that the ancient records told him that he read showed that Moses, he found Moses' autobiography. He said that he found the Harker's grave is over here buried in the pyramids in the Americas. He said, what else this nigga said? Egypt is in Texas and Israel is in Peru because Peru means navel of the world. Bunch of dumb shit, man. And the sad thing is you got motherfuckers running around believing that shit and quoting that shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's the sad part. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting tomorrow, man. It's gonna be fun.
Well, we gotta learn how to have fun with this.
Now that's true. We do gotta learn how to have fun with this, but it's hard when these cats don't know nothing. Really, I mean, I don't even know what else how else to put it. These cats don't really be knowing nothing about history.
Yeah, they be knowing that Wikipedia article. That's what they be knowing.
Man, James, they're not even looking at Wikipedia article because Wikipedia don't even substantiate this shit in that book. They're not gonna find a Wikipedia article to substantiate that shit. So, you know, and he really be wanting to say, when you say ancient records, he really be wanting to say the Akashic records. I already know because he used it the same way people be using that Akashic record shit. So he don't know what he's talking about.
Yo, Red.
Yeah.
Hey, man, my internet went down for a second, man. I guess I'm gonna have to wrap it up. You let the people know what's going on tomorrow. We're gonna come back, man. Hopefully my internet is a little better tomorrow, man. It did that at the beginning of the show and it just did it here. But yeah, man. Y'all to do one thing, man. This is one thing I need y'all to garner for what we're trying to bring out here, because I'm trying to bring awareness to the Black community, and we need to start building a literary culture, man, in the Black community. All right. So with that being stated, I need you all to do this.
Read a book, read a book, read a motherfucking book. Read a book, read a book, read
Read a damn book. Let's get it. All right, man. If you ain't got nothing else to say, I'm gonna close this thing out with our brother Jeremiah. Please say the Yah new music video, and I'm gonna get out of here before my internet decides to crash again. I'm sorry, y'all. But I love every single one of y'all to come out every time we do a show and show your love and support. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Tune in tomorrow. We are dealing with Horace Butler's book. We are going to deconstruct this brother's book, man. All right. You're probably going to come on a witch hunt after this. All right, man. 7 gang, Source gang over everything. You know how we rock it, man. Let's get it.
Love it, man.
Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. Know we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah. Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. When we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah. The wait's over the takeover, cause Judah's back. Rolling down the boulevard in a Cadillac. We here to kick much ass, so what you smiling at? Understand your reign is at an end like a cul-de-sac. Uplifting my nation is my motivation. Don't get contaminated by the radiation. I never let you change my thoughts from high to basic. I'm here to tell you downfall like the prophets need me. I'm always throwing up the fold. No, we go hard, I'm here to let them boys know. No, we gon' ride, and I mean for life. Can't handle Judah, cause Judah too live. We the illest nation, a target for all the hate and a spark for innovation. They follow, no hesitation. Stop your complaining, we just invading, picking up all of the labor. They never gon' fade us, coming together no matter the problems or weather. Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. Know we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah. Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. When we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah.
Hold up, leaning out the window, throwing foes. Killing all the lies, yeah, the truth get exposed. Life of an Israelite staying on the path. Bruise pulling up, dress cold, holding staffs. Daily we stay draped up and friends that know what I'm talking about. Judah from the south, Yah's oracles come out my mouth. Leaning on the promise, double cup of living waters. Yahweh lead the charge, waking up your sons and daughters. Sticking to the scripts, I ain't talking about no movie. Ecclesiastes 12:13, Call of Duty. Room full of shooters, streets full of runners, calling sinners to repentance. We hear the roaring thunder, we banging on the enemy. Yahweh is the remedy, perfect with the judgments, to slump you like a Kennedy. I represent the South, righteous with maneuvers. When I'm talking Southern Kingdom, then I'm talking about Judah. Hold it.
Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. Know we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah. Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. When we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah.
Throw them foes up, Judah on the rise. He just trying to suppress. I roll your place shine. I pay haters no mind. Hamashiach is light. Jacob's trouble is bubbling, so Judah get it right. Repentance I'm teaching, open books so no cheating. Stop trying to find a reason, cause Christ will leave your body leaking. Your odor is reeking, yeah, the kingdom I'm seeking. Yeah, this is the fishing season. Next up is killer season. Put on the whole armor, Ephesians 6:11. If you're trying to make it to heaven, you gotta purse at 11. Go ahead and check your reverend. Drop your idol, I mean reverend. I ain't taking shots at reverend, but really check your reverend. Judah been led astray. Watch now, repent and pray. Store up treasures in heaven, and Christ will love it, man. This is all facts, no fiction. Lyrical crucifixion. Repent for the kingdom of heaven. I forgot to mention.
Boys looking good, throw the foes out the window. Know we starting all the trends, keep the people on tempo. I represent the South, know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah. stars looking good. Throw the foes out the window when we starting all the trends. Keep the people on tip. I represent the South. Know we house the sharpshooters. When I talk about the South, know I'm talking about Judah.
South, know I'm talking about Judah. Hold up. Foes up. Throw them foes, throw them foes up, foes up, foes up, throw them 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 foes up.
Hey, James was in the video, man. Hey, y'all know how we rocking, man. 7 gang. We will be back tomorrow dealing with Horace Butler's When the Rocks Cry Out. We need answers. All right. So you know how we rocking, man. I'm going to see y'all. Peace. Shabbat shalom. Love y'all, family. We out. Gang!